guys, my name is Maria Park, and this is Approach the Nerd. And in this episode, we are talking about Terminator Dark Fate. So, I really enjoyed the movie. We went to the opening on Halloween, so I saw it on Thursday night. So, I'm going by memory here, so don't kill me. I really enjoyed it though. I love the first two movies. I was not a big Salvation fan like a lot of people, and I didn't see Genesis because I just got really busy. I probably do need to watch it, but whatever. I like how they opened this movie. I love the first 10 minutes or 11 minutes of it. I know I've been reading some reviews online and people weren't very happy with that, but I personally think it was a good way of segueing, Sarah Connor back into the story. Because they did delay Judgment Day in the first two movies. So Sarah hunting down Terminators would not have made sense had they not done some of the key things they did in this movie. But let's just go with that. I won't go like verbatim. I'm not going to go break down scene by scene because I don't do that. I do have a film degree, but I feel like that's somebody else's hard work. I've never worked on a script treatment. I don't have Hollywood backing. I haven't made a professional movie. So I'm not going to be one of those people that says, oh, this shot composition and cinematography, blah, blah. If I like the cinematography, I might say something, and I did like the cinematography, but I'm not going to put any of it down because I don't work in that field professionally, so I would be a hypocrite. So I'm not going to be a YouTuber that does that. So let's just talk about the plot and the characters. So let's start with the first 10 minutes. So we see that Sarah Connors, after they delayed Judgment Day, her and her son were always on the run. At least it looks like they're on the run. They're in Guatemala. They're in this restaurant that looks like it's outside, like a cabana type restaurant. When a T-800 comes out of the water, just walks right onto the beach, walks right, past her, and shoots her son and kills John Connor. So John Connor is dead. By John Connor being dead, that means his future timeline is no longer in existence. I mean, that's how the Doctor Who and every other, Back to the Future, every other time-traveling movie besides Endgame, and don't get me started on that, those are the laws. Once you end a life that is very beneficial to a future, that timeline, it no longer exists. So he's no longer there. But by that happening, by the T-800 taking out John Connor, it did end his timeline, but it created a different future, which we learn later on in the movie. We are introduced to Grace, who is a augmented, bionic super soldier from the future, and extremely hot, by the way. Her actress was hot in Black Mirror, but she's definitely hot in this movie. I told my spouse, I'm married to a Korean American biological female who loves to lift weights, and I said, this is your goal. I mean, follow this. This is your example. But she's hot, and I stand by that statement. She's hot. She shows up, and it's hysterical. She meets this couple that are making out on the beach, and just like the Terminators, she drops down through a bridge completely naked, unconscious for a minute, so nothing on her. And they kind of try to help her, and the police show up, and she beats the holy crap out of them, and then steals the clothes of the guy, because the guy who was trying to help her, and then steals his car. His car is struck. I can't remember if it was struck. So, and drives off. Then we're introduced to Daniela Ramos, who is a very sweet girl who takes care of her father and her younger brother. She was out getting them breakfast. She brings it home, and then her brother I guess they're late for work. They work in this factory that does auto parts, I believe. I remember there's auto parts. So they're rushing off to work, riding the bus, and then right as they left, a Rev 9, which is the latest Terminator model, shows up and goes to her father, asks where Daniela is, and introduces himself as her friend. And the father's confused. He's like, well, all of her friends know her as Danny, which is a red flag. Then we see them at the factory, and the brother basically has no job because they replaced his position with a machine. So Danny's in the office arguing with the boss about trying to keep her brother's job, when her father shows up saying to the brother that they left their lunch at home, which the brother says that's impossible because Danny packed her lunch. It's right here. Then we know something's wrong because when Danny's walking towards them, his arm shifts into a gun, and he's about to shoot her. And then Grace shows up, and that action scene It's flipping amazing. It is amazing. Um, I mean, it was amazing. The one thing about this movie that I cannot stop raving about is that I feel like I'm running a 5K watching it. There's so much action. And I know a lot of people don't like that. They like to have more character development, plot, blah, blah. We know what Terminator is about. We understand what happens when the machines fight humans. I love all of the action scenes, the choreography and stuff in this because it's awesome. So she shows up. She basically beats the crap out of the Rev 9. You can't kill it, but she beats the crap out of it, grabs Danny and her brother. They steal a truck. They're running on the highway. I mean, those poor people on the highway. I said this in Captain America and Winter Soldier. It does not pay to be in an action movie on the highway because you're just going to die. Nobody cares about the civilians on the road. But, so yeah, so they're escaping, and then the Rev 9 steals a vehicle, is chasing them, and unfortunately, at some point, Grace has to get in the back, and she's throwing these like metal like poles through him or at the Rev 9, and the brother's driving the car because Danny doesn't know how to drive. Well, he gets impaled by one of them, and Grace is unable to save him because if she removes the pole, he'll bleed out and die instantly. But at the same time, the Rev 9 is about to crush the vehicle they're in, so she grabs Danny and jumps out, and then the little brother dies. So that's the first casualty. Then we learn that, as they're escaping, because Sarah shows up, then we learn that the Rev 9 can do something very interesting. He can split himself into two. So he has the metal exoskeleton and then the humanoid, tissued version of the Terminator. So you're really essentially fighting two of them simultaneously, which is insane because they are so strong. So that, I will say, they really thought that through when they were coming to kill Danny in the past. They are like, we're not just going to send a T-800, we're going to send a modified version that can duplicate itself. So that was interesting. But Sarah shows up, hits the metal one with a car, and then I think it was either a rocket launcher or a flamethrower at the humanoid version and knocks him off a bridge. And then she uses the cannon line, I'll be back, and she's going to check on him. And Grayson decides to grab Danny and steal her vehicle because she doesn't know who Sarah is. And that's when we learn that Grace has a flaw because she is human but has been cybernetically enhanced or augmented, that she has to have these injections. It's like sodium barkenite or something that she has to shoot to keep her metabolism from pretty much killing her because her metabolism's forcing all that energy and the strength and the speed on a body that wasn't meant to do that because she's not a robot. So she, in a bad way, they break into this pharmacy, they steal these injections. I thought it was cute that one of the pharmacy aides helps get her into the truck after she pulled a gun, Danny got a gun on them. But as they're getting ready to escape, Sarah shows up and then grabs Danny and Grace and takes them to a motel, and that's when the first introductions between the characters occur. So Sarah tells them about how she saved everyone and stopped millions of people from dying in 1997 with Judgment Day, and Grace just basically says, well, that's not my future. I don't know who Skynet is because the villain now is Legion. Legion is the master machine that's creating all the Terminators. So Sarah did essentially save everyone from Skynet, but it just replaced it with something equally as evil. So I actually love that fact that it is a different future timeline. So long story short, Sarah's been getting these coordinates and dates, and it takes her to where Terminators are appearing. So she's been hunting them, and always says Fort John. Well, we come to find out that Grace still actually has the coordinates tattooed on her of the same place that Sarah was told to go if she gets into trouble, which leads them to Carl, and Carl is the T-800 that actually killed John Connor. So Sarah's not too happy working with him. But they need him because, quite frankly, the Rev 9 is freaking strong. He is relentlessly strong. But it's cute because Carl has adapted. He has a partner and he helped raise a child. He's got a dog. He works as a drapes, I don't want to say designer, but he hangs drapes, and I guess he does walls and stuff like that, which is funny. So he has a little van, and he's basically developed a human persona and what the closest thing a machine can come to as a conscience. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, Sarah's not having any of that. She's like, I'm going to kill you when this is over. So another thing that I thought was interesting in the movie is Sarah is convinced that the reason they're trying to save Danny is because of her womb. Because everyone tried to save her. She was Danny. I'm going to have some, my future kid is going to be the leader of the human resistance. Well, we come to find out that actually Danny is John Connor. She is the leader of the resistance. As a matter of fact, her and Grace know each other because when Grace was younger, it was an adult version of Danny that saves her, takes her under her wing, kind of pretty much raises her. And they start the resistance together. So the future version of Danny actually sent Grace back in time to save her past self. Because if she dies, none of that occurs, just like John Connor. So it's a really good way of sticking to the canon, but with a completely different cast. And I was completely okay with that. A lot of people didn't like the fact that there was an underwater scene. There's a scene where they get knocked underwater, and they didn't like the fact that, they were under there. But I'm like, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in action movies that if you don't suspend your disbelief on, then there's no point in you being in the movie theater. So I am not gonna nitpick that because that's just something that a lot of people are saying because, unfortunately, it's a very female-driven cast. And there are a lot of people that are sensitive about that. So it is what it is. Again, I don't play these politics. I don't play these games. I just like what I like, and so that's why I'm doing this review. But I found nothing wrong with these scenes. I do like the fact that they came up with a plan to make a kill box, and then they stuck to it. And the saddest thing about... I knew it was going to happen because they were going to get like this, I think it was an EMT weapon that gets shot when they stole a plane that was supposed to be able to just fry his system. But I'm like, I didn't see that happening because Grace, I knew was going to die because why would she have a reason to stay in the past and how would she get back to the future? So unfortunately, the safety net or the last ditch hope they had is Grace has a power source inside of her body that when it's removed and it comes into contact with a Rev 9, it will zap their system, basically. It fries their mainframe. And that's essentially what has to happen. So Danny doesn't want to do it, but Grace says, it's my honor to save you. Basically, you saved me, paying back the favor. It was very sad. And she uses it, and she basically kills the Rev 9. But, she starts the process, but actually it's the T-800 Carl that sacrifices himself as well by pushing him down. They jump through this hole, and he holds him down while both of their mainframes are being destroyed. So in a way, Sarah got her way, like closure, but it was still kind of sad because I think she was coming around to, he is a machine and he actually feels bad, but it's still Sarah, so she probably would have killed him anyway. But what's so interesting about this is the coordinates that were tattooed on Grace had to come from adult Danny, which means the memory had to come from adult Danny. So all of those events already happened, and this is, that's the future version of herself sending her back to prevent her death again. So it's like they're going in a butterfly effect or a circle. So that means if Danny does not find a way of altering what's already happened in the future completely, it's all going to happen again. And I think that's awesome. And that to me is how time travel works. And I also like the fact that we saw the younger version of Grace because we saw all the flashbacks with her. So we know what she looks like. Danny saw her playing with her family pre all of the machines, pretty much wiping out millions of people. And Danny says, I will not let Grace die for me again. So to me, the entire human resistance was started because Grace sacrificed herself to save Danny in the past. But Grace came from the future where she already had a relationship with Danny. So it is literally, it's like it's most evidence you'll ever get of the full circle of the Terminator world and how changing the future can work, cannot work, or how it all has an effect on each other. So there's just so many things. Like even when adult Danny finds Grace in the flashback, she looks at her like she knew who she was. So, I mean, it's just to have that memory already in the past going into the future. To me, it's already broke something, but that's just me. But it still seems like a full circle. And so if Danny's able to figure out one thing to alter it, none of that will happen. But then what does that mean? Because we already saw that John Connor's future got altered. He died, and so there's a new future with Danny. Does that mean that there'll be another machine threat? Will there always be another machine threat and another, chosen one who becomes the leader of the human resistance? It's so much to take in, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. I would love to know what you think. Please leave me a comment and let me know. And if you'd like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to know who's next on the nerd ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. And if you have time, don't forget to check out some of these other videos.